Hello, my name is Alexa Castañeda, and today I will be presenting civil liberties and civil rights. The first form of civil liberty and civil right is freedom of religion, which is basically the right to practice any religion of your choice. And you can either be religious or be an atheist, it's really up to you. But two complications that would follow this would be America only supporting Christianity, which is not true. America does support any religion, so like I said, you could go towards any religion you'd like to. And a second misconception would be, yes, you can follow religion as long as you don't break any laws or limits. So if your religion practices sacrifices, you will go to jail for that. The second civil liberty and right would be freedom of speech, which is basically you being able to express ideas, opinions, and beliefs without any punishment or censorship from the government. And two misconceptions would be the government cannot tell you what you can and can't say. Public settings can, such as school, workplaces, or any other public settings where it's just one-on-one individual. Another misconception will be threats, and those can and will lead you to jail. An example would be like stating that there's a fire in a near building and there really isn't. You will go into court for that, and you will run for trial. So, yeah, just be careful with what you say and being cautious. The third portion of the First Amendment would be freedom of press, which is basically media and any journalist can publish, which would just be info, ideas, and opinions, once again, without any censorship and without control of the government. However, this does apply to everyone. Well, two misconceptions would be this rule applying to everyone, not just journalists or the news. So anyone can publish their opinions, ideas, and just information. And a second misconception would be that the government cannot censor or cannot control any content, or I guess you could say preview any content before it is published. So whatever you post is at the end of the day your decision. So if you decide to post something that's not real or that is false news, you can and will get punished. Another would be search and seizure. You may be asking, oh, what's search? Well, search is when a person, home, vehicle, or etc. Search can be anything. So it can be yourself or your house. And then seizure would be something like property or something personal. And it could just be arrest and taking physical items. So that's kind of what search would be. Seizure. That's kind of what seizure would be. And then two misconceptions about this is how there are certain exceptions where they can search and seizure. So if it's if it's an urgent need, let's say you got into an accident and you're currently on the way to the ambulance, I spoke God, you're not, but that could be a necessary search that that could be risking your life. And then another one would be oh, you're driving and you get pulled over and the cop says, oh, can I search your car? Then if you give them permission to, they can and will search your car. Another misconception is how search can also require or include any electronic devices, because that's also an invasion of your privacy. So any electronic device would be a computer, a phone, a tablet, anything really. So, and then the next one is due process of law, and that is how the government must follow and be fair with procedures and respect the people's legal rights. So that would be any of the amendments and any of the rules that you'll have. And this should be during trials, hearings, or notice. So, and then 2 misconceptions would be how this could only apply in criminal cases. However, that is not the case. It also applies to civil matters, which could be like when you do properties, disputes, employment rights, and even school discipline. And then another misconception would be how due process doesn't always require a trial, but it is just so that it's a fair procedure. Once again. The next one is the 9th Amendment, which is it's just a reminder of how like people's rights are not limited. They're enumerated, which means that even the rights that are not listed in the Bill of Rights is also like just a right that the people have. It's like just day-to-day activities. However, 2 misconceptions would be that it doesn't list those specific rights, so that can be a little confusing. And then another one is just a reminder once more that it's important for one's privacy, even if it doesn't say quote-unquote privacy directly. And then we have the 10th Amendment as well. And the 10th Amendment just gives a reminder that any power that isn't given to the federal government does belong to the states or the people. And then 2 misconceptions about this would be how the federal government can only grant the powers that are specifically in the Constitution. It's not like, oh, everything but what's in the Constitution. It's quite the opposite. So it's like only what's in the Constitution is what is the powers that the federal government has. Another misconception is how the states are not fully independent. They still have to follow the federal laws. So, yes. And then second to last one would be equal protection, which is basically just treating all people equal under the law. And then 2 misconceptions would be that no, it's not the exact same treatment, but it's so that we don't unfairly discriminate. And another misconception would be it's how it's not only just racial discrimination, but it can also be gender, disability, and religion, or even like other possible ones as well, not just race. And the last and final one would be discrimination. And discrimination would basically also involve the Civil Rights Act, which just basically prevents unfair treatment, which like I said before, could be gender, disability, religion, and race, like stated before. However, 2 misconceptions are discrimination that can occur in promotions and job opportunities based off of, once again, race, disabilities, and gender, or even religion. And finally, the last misconception from the final side would be how certain groups are still facing these barriers. So, yeah, that's kind of what I have for you guys today. And thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed my presentation.